I'm Chris Smith. Today, Micron announced its new C300 Real SSD for notebook computers, now the industry's fastest SATA-based solid-state drive, allowing users to benefit from the full capability of NAND flash memory. To explain more about how the C300 changes the dynamics of storage performance for notebooks and other client applications, I'm talking today with Dean Klein, Micron's Vice President of Memory System Development. Dean, thanks for your time today.
Glad to be here.
Before we talk about why we feel the C300 is going to be a game changer in the arena of solid-state storage, maybe we could reset and look at where things stand with the SSD market as a whole. SSDs have been on the scene for a long time, but they haven't really been adopted into mainstream computing yet. What do you think are some of the reasons for that?
One of the initial reasons was, of course, that SSDs really were not much faster than the hard drives that they were replacing. Secondly, they came at a pretty extreme cost penalty. And so there's really this value ratio that has to exist. If you're going to pay more for something, you better get more for it. And that more is typically performance that they're looking for in SSDs.
Mm-hmm. You've led Micron's entrance into the solid-state drive arena. What were some of the things that we as a company brought to the table that tried to address some of those drawbacks in the initial part of the business of SSDs?
Well, Micron, of course, is a real strong competitor in the NAND area and a leader, a true leader in the area of NAND process technology. Secondly, we've got very strong engineering, product engineering and quality engineering teams that can deliver the type of quality NAND product that makes this sort of thing work. And really, despite our lack of initial SSD knowledge, we have a tremendous knowledge in the area of system technologies. And the Micron Advanced Storage Technology Center in Minneapolis is just one of those examples of an area that we've got some real strong expertise developed in. Finally, we have been a leader, a real leader in the development of the ONFI and ONFI 2 standards around NAND.
How did we apply those strengths as we then come forward with the product that we have today, the new C300 Real SSD?
Well, first thing that we did was to leverage our system knowledge to develop really, truly leading NAND control algorithms. So NAND control algorithms that deliver exceptional performance, not just in benchmark, but also in real-life applications. Now, secondly, we leveraged our knowledge and understanding of ONFI 2 in these drives to eliminate the NAND control bottlenecks. Third, we've really optimized these drives for Micron's cost-effective 34 nanometer NAND. And finally, we've used our expertise in NAND, our QA and product engineering teams to develop a NAND that's really optimized for SSD applications.
There are a lot of SSDs on the market right now. What are some of the things that make the C300 different, that separates it from the pack right now?
Well, the C300 truly sets new standards for SSD performance. It is the industry's fastest SSD when operating on the existing SATA 3 gig interface standard. But the C300 has more tricks up its sleeve. It is the first SSD to offer SATA 6 gig. This is sometimes called SATA 3.0. Now, SATA is that interface that talks between the system and the storage, the system and the hard drive typically. And that's the interface that we're leveraging on this drive. SATA 6 gig drives are backwards compatible with SATA 3 gig drives and with SATA 1.5 gig drives. So you can plug this sort of drive into any system and you will get superior performance, but you get the maximum performance when you plug that drive into a SATA 6 gig connection. Also, this drive leverages that ONFI 2 NAND, and it's the first SSD to do that as well.
What about, how does that compare to like a hard drive that's also using the SATA interface?
Well, the hard drive has a problem in that the media in the hard drive really can't get any faster. So as you move from a SATA 3 gig drive to a SATA 6 gig hard drive, you're really not seeing any substantial performance gains.
I think when SSDs started to hit the market, the capacity was also kind of a question in terms of, does it really compare to what's available with a mechanical hard disk drive? What about the C300 in terms of capacity?
Good question. Our initial offerings for the C300 are 128 gigabytes and 256 gigabytes. And we will bump that capacity to half terabyte in early 2010.
Mm-hmm. Dean, you've talked a little bit about the capacity and the performance, 6 gigabits per second SATA interface. What do those specs mean, though, to a regular computer user? If somebody sat down at your computer, which does have a C300 in it, would they notice anything different in terms of the interface and the performance?
Very good question. Absolutely, you would. I don't care what the operation is. Anything that goes to the drive is going to be faster, whether that's hibernating, whether it's booting, whether it's loading an application, whether it's browsing through files looking for a photo. All of these things are near instantaneous on one of these C300 drives. We've got customers that are using these drives that have reported truly hard to imagine types of improvements. Launching an email program, for instance, that takes 20 minutes to go through a synchronization process, and watching that go down to 15 seconds. You know, that's pretty spectacular gain that anyone is going to notice when sitting in front of these systems.
And we're going to show some of that benchmarking, I think, in a separate set of videos here on the blog as well, correct?
Right. We'll show some benchmarking and some real-life applications in that segment.
What about in terms of like power consumption? Would they notice anything different there?
One of the nice things about an SSD is that it can go from a very low power state to full active and back down to that low power state really fast. So that if you're trying to get an application done, it really consumes power for a very short period of time. So yes, you'll notice improvements in battery life with SSDs.
Mm-hmm. And again, SSDs from a reliability standpoint?
Should be great.
Great. People probably are kind of wondering now, Dean, when can they get a chance at maybe test driving this drive themselves? What are we looking at in terms of production and availability to our customers and ultimately consumers?
Well, we are sampling this drive today to select OEM customers, and it will be more generally available in early 2010.
Great. Dean, we look forward to hearing more about the C300 and some of the changes it's going to make to the entire outlook that people have on solid-state drives.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks.